The MGM Resorts NBA Summer League continues here from Las Vegas. Single elimination time for the Heat and the New Orleans Pelicans, who will get together here at Cox Pavilion in Vegas. Take a look at your bracket. You lose, you're out at this point. It's teams trying to advance to Monday's championship contest here in Las Vegas. Welcome to our continuing coverage here on NBA TV. Matt Weiner here with the Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas. Got a rematch here. On Saturday, the Heat and Pelicans played. Really, it was mostly the Pelicans who put up 110 points. But for Miami, a team that typically doesn't play very fast, maybe playing around with something in terms of pace of play.
Yeah, and when you look at Miami, the first thing you think about is defense. I mean, that's their identity, and they're known as a defensive team. But in the Summer League, as you suggested, right, they're playing at a much quicker pace. And I think it's coming in their transition, Matt. You know, they're rebounding the basketball well. They're getting turnovers, and consequently, they're getting into the open court, and they're scoring the basketball.
They've scored 84, 90, and 98 so far. Bam Adebayo, their second-year man out of Kentucky, had 24 in a win against Utah.
Yeah, and even though he's not shooting the ball as well, right, what he's doing is just cleaning up the garbage, and this is a good, important summer for him.
Meanwhile, for the Pelicans, Alvin Gentry's team played at the fastest pace in the NBA last season, and that has continued here in Vegas.
Yeah, Alvin likes to get up and down the court. His system is very similar to D'Antoni, and when you look at what the Pelicans are doing, right, they're moving the basketball, they're getting up and down, and their offense is really fluid right now.
Here are your starting lineups this afternoon for the Miami Heat. There's Duncan Robinson, who has a two-way contract. Rosgold on Woode will join us a little later on with more on him. Jared Jones, Landry Noko, Daryl Macon, and Derek Walton Jr. will run the point to start for Miami. The Pelicans have Trayvon Blewett, their leading scorer, who lit up the Heat in their last meeting with 26 off the bench. Sheck Diallo, Clinton Alexander, the rookie Tony Carr out of Penn State, and Walter Lemon Jr. Good to have you with us here from Cox Pavilion in Las Vegas on a Thursday afternoon.
Let's go!
The Heat has been mercifully cool by Vegas standards this week, Zeke. And it's air conditioned, so we got that going for us.
But you know, this Heat team, Matt, they can really light it up. And when I'm looking at the Pelicans, their transition game, the Heat is going to have to slow down their transition game. As we're looking at Coach Spoelstra, who wants to make sure that his team represents that defensive identity that Miami likes to impose on its opponents.
One of the longest tenured coaches in the NBA. That's off New Orleans, off the tip. Eric Glass is the Summer League coach for the Miami Heat.
He looks like Spo. Very similar.
I don't think that was a prerequisite for the job necessarily, but it's a fair point. Heat in black, Pelicans in white, underway here at Cox Pavilion. That's Duncan Robinson out of Michigan, puts it on the deck and brings it right back out. Derek Walton Jr. also out of Michigan. Back to Robinson, who will take the first shot of the game and knock it down.
Duncan Robinson.
Good start for Robinson and good start for the Heat.
Duncan going with number 62. Not a typical NBA number.
Neither is 63 or 70 for the Heat.
You get a lot of unusual ones in Summer League, but Duncan Robinson has a two-way contract with the Miami Heat as he knocks down another shot. And if he keeps shooting like that, he can wear whatever number he likes.
Well, this is Duncan's the type of player that Miami likes to have and like to draft. He can shoot the basketball and also put it on the floor.
Rookie Tony Carr lost it as he got into the paint. Miami didn't know where it was. Landry Noko let the ball go right past him, and back come the Pelicans for an easy two, and New Orleans is on the board here. I mentioned earlier the Pelicans played with the fastest pace in the NBA last season, and it was really glaring after the DeMarcus Cousins injury in January. They already like to play kind of fast, and then they just kicked it into hyper speed at that point. It became apparent this is how Alvin Gentry wanted to play. He'd have taken a quick 8-2 lead, and it's a quick timeout for the New Orleans Pelicans. Great start for Miami. Stick with us. Lots more Summer League coming from Las Vegas. of 4 from the field and leading it 8-2 on the New Orleans Pelicans. 5 of those points off the fingertips of Duncan Robinson, and Rosgold Onwude has more on the Heat rookie.
Yeah, Duncan Robinson, coming out of high school, had no D1 offers, so he had to play D3 basketball first before he could transfer to Michigan, where he even helped lead them to the national championship game his senior year, and even still, he went undrafted. And he told me just before this game he was talking with the Lakers, the Heat, the Bucks, but the Heat stood out because Eric Spoelstra himself gave him a phone call basically telling him about the Heat culture and how he would fit into their developmental program for young players with the Heat, and that went a long way with him. So Duncan told me he's really trying to break the stereotype, though, that he is just a shooter. That certainly has gained him attention here. He can shoot the rock, but he's trying to show that he can also play both sides of the ball. Guys?
Well, he certainly can shoot it. He's 10 of 17 from three-point range coming in here in Summer League. And he's got the green light here for Miami, obviously. Sometimes, Zeke, though, and you ran NBA teams, sometimes it can be an advantage not to be drafted as opposed to being, drafted somewhere in the second round where you're obligated to play for that team because you have your choices and you can find a good fit.
Yeah, you just hit on it, Matt. You have your choices and you can find a good fit. And, when we talk about Robinson here and when I listened to what Roz said, key word that really stuck out for me was development. He's a late developer. He's a late bloomer. In Miami's system, he can develop. And he's one of those players, as we talked about, he can shoot the basketball. He can put it on the floor. But you can see he has size. So he's long. He has length. So he's one of those guys that can not only defend out on the perimeter, but he can also get to the basket.
They're 6'8", mentioned the shooting touch, and you can tell when he handles the ball, he's not just a catch-and-shoot guy. He can put it on the floor a little bit and create for himself. And he's going to get a chance with a two-way contract to play. He's not just going to be sitting on the end of Miami's bench. He'll have a chance to develop with their G League team in Sioux Falls and get plenty of playing time along the way. That two-way contract is really a stroke of genius by the league to get some guys who might be playing overseas to stick around because it presents an opportunity, a carrot out in front of them to make an impression on the team and get some NBA time they might not otherwise have gotten.
Without a doubt. And as we see Duncan on the line, and sometimes, Matt, players get stuck with the label of just being able to shoot. And Robinson right now is saying, I can do more than shoot the basketball. I can put it on the floor. I can defend. I can be an all-around basketball player. And consequently, when you do one thing well in the NBA, we like to just harp on that one thing that you do well.
Right.
But basketball is an all-around game, and Spoelstra is looking for all-around players.
Of course, as a coach as well, that players are constantly telling you they can do things they can't do.
Yes, absolutely. But
I know you want me to do that one thing, but I can do all this other stuff.
And they believe that they can do it, Matt, until they get cut 10 times in a row.
It used to be. It's interesting, and it's a change in the way the game is played, or maybe a reflection of the change in the way the game is played now. But it used to be, 20 years from now, correct me if I'm wrong, that if you had one definable NBA skill, that was your path to the NBA. And now teams are looking for guys who can do a multitude of things. You need to be able to pass, shoot, read a play defense, switch defensively.
Yeah, and on the offensive end, there's three things that you got to be able to do. A, you got to be able to shoot the three, whether you're big or small, as we see Jones as a big knocks down the three. So that's one skill you got to have. The second skill, you got to be able to put it on the floor and create for other people, as we see Chet get to the basket. Okay? And the third skill you got to be able to have is you got to be able to go to the foul line and be able to draw and create fouls.
Now, Isaiah, listening to you break down what you need to have, I know that Summer League head coach for the Heat, Eric Glass, when talking about Duncan Robinson, was pointing out those things. The first thing he said was shooting in the NBA is a premium. He can do that. But an example with Duncan, he said, hey, he's a high IQ player. He's smart. He knows how to make an extra pass. And then he also pointed out defense. While he's still working on some things on D, he does know how to help side the ball, play help side defense, and he was high on that. Said he's a good package overall.
Well, there are plenty of players in the NBA who aren't necessarily great with lateral quickness, aren't necessarily shut-down defenders, but who can fit into a team concept.
Yeah, and so on the defensive side of the ball, right, you got to be able to guard your man. You better as we see Jones here, you got to keep the ball in front of you, and you have to be able to guard and pick and roll. Can you switch out on smaller players? Can you move your feet? Those are the two premium things that you need to be able to do on the defensive side of the ball.
Derek Walton get into the teeth of the defense to set up Landry Noko. And the Miami Heat are now 8 of 10 from the field, including 3 of 3 from three-point range. And they've got a 10-point lead here midway through the first quarter. Remember, these two teams played here on Saturday. Pelicans put up 110 points and beat them by 26.
And when you talk about being able to penetrate the basketball as a ball handler, you got to be able to get into the lane, draw two, and anytime you draw two, you put the ball behind the two defenders, as we just saw right there.
Derek Walton did play 16 games with Miami last season as a rookie. Played another 27 with the G League affiliate in Sioux Falls. I think as an organization, the Heat may lead the NBA, as the Heat finally miss a three, may lead the NBA in distance between the NBA club and the G League. Sioux Falls has been a great minor league basketball market for, I don't know, 3 decades.
Yes,
the CBA and the D League and the G League. And just because it worked out that way, that's where Miami's G League affiliate is. So many teams have teams, their G League teams, either on the outskirts of their city or in a neighboring state. And you think about the climate change.
Yeah.
It's a very different environment. Well, in February, going from Sioux Falls to Miami.
And you see the bigs, they must be able to guard the smalls. So what they're looking for right now in big players, and what I mean by big players, not Shaq big, but Jones big. You got to be able to slide your feet. You got to be able to move and keep that guard in front of you.
Got to play pick and roll. You got to be able to switch out on pick and roll or blitz the way Chris Bosh did so effectively during the LeBron years. Trayvon Blewett knocks down the three. He had 26 in that game on Saturday against Miami. He is their leading scorer here in Las Vegas, averaging 21 a game. And by my math, he's now 15 of 25 from three-point range here.
You know, the players that are coming into the NBA, you talk about, you know, range and shooting the basketball. And, you know, 10 years ago, we said we wanted players coming into the All-League who knew how to shoot the basketball. And that word went out, and it was heard by the younger generation. And what we're seeing right now is all these young players that are coming in, the one asset that they have is they all can stand behind the line and shoot the basketball, which has made our game better.
Right. Well, it used to be you had three-point specialists way back when, in the 80s and early 90s, when teams would only take a handful of threes a game. And I always point to John Sunvold, who played for the Miami Heat, who would come into the game and you knew why he was out there.
And didn't he go to Missouri?
He did.
Oh.
He did.
Did you go to Missouri?
I did go to Missouri.
Oh, okay. I wondered that. So not Reggie Miller, not Ray Allen, but John Sunvold.
Well, Reggie Miller and Ray Allen were very different players, right?
Yes,
they were scorers and obviously Hall of Famers as well. John really was a specialist, and for a while, I believe he held the NBA record for I believe it was career three-point shooting percentage, which Steve Kerr now owns. But John had that for a while. He could really shoot.
Could really shoot. Not only could he really shoot, but when he came into the game, they made a conscious effort to really get him open. And he's one of these guys that really, you can give credit for, in that generation a while back is saying that, okay, the specialists, used to be guys that, they made twos.
Right.
They would come off of down screens and they would knock down twos. Sunvolt stretched the imagination and took it to the three-point line.
John still calls basketball games, college games. Like a lot of NBA players who could shoot, probably thinking he was born at the wrong time.
Yes.
Deontay Mayton out of Georgia with the bucket there for Miami. Pelicans have made a run here to cut it. It's now a 5-point game. Walt Lemon wears number 25 and handles it for the Pelicans with just over 2 minutes to go here in the first quarter. Blewett sets up Diallo and one.
The play we just saw on the baseline, that the Pelicans just ran. Baseline screens, come off, dish back, layup. I mean, that's an old school play there.
Over the shoulder. And an and one opportunity for the Pelicans hanging around here in Las Vegas. The Summer League tournament continues tonight in Las Vegas on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. You got the Knicks, Kevin Knox and the Knicks taking on Boston. Knox has created some buzz around these parts. Philadelphia and Phoenix. The Clippers and the Lakers, the all-LA game on ESPN2 at 8:30 Eastern Time. And Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks coming off that big comeback yesterday will take on the Portland Trailblazers later on tonight. How about Trae Young? I left that game, I'll be honest. We did our games over at Thomas and Mack. I wanted to see Young play.
Yeah.
I watched the first half, and I thought, you know what? I've got more games to prep for. They're down by $1 million.
Yes.
I'm going back to the hotel.
I turned it off. I was watching a game, and I turned it off when they were down like 25-30, and then I looked back up at the television, and they're down 2.
Down by 27 in the third quarter and came back to win. You never know. So the message is, do not turn off this game no matter what happens.
But that's what the three-point shot has done for all game. You're never really out of the game, because if you shoot the basketball well enough, you can always get back into the game. And that's what, when they, at the Rules and Competition Committee,
sure,
that was one of the things that they were talking about. How do you keep fans interested in the game when your team is down 20?
Right.
And that was one of the reasons why they was talking about putting a three-point line in, so it always gives you a chance to come back.
Well, and since then, the emphasis on freedom of movement and taking the hand checking away. I mean, you know how difficult it was to get where you wanted to go when you had Derek Harper or somebody guiding you with his hand defensively. Can't do that anymore. Try to keep you up to date on the player changes here throughout the game. Fast and furious as they come. Deontay Mayton with another bucket there, and he's got an and one chance.
So, Matt, when they changed the hand checking rule, then they went to, okay, you can just use your forearm.
Right.
And me as a smaller player, I was like, oh, gee, thank you. He doesn't have to use his hand anymore. Now you're giving him the ability to forearm check.
Right. Great. Appreciate that.
But the way defenses play right now, I do think that the defense is at a severe disadvantage right now, because they're not allowed to control the dribbler with any type of tactical touch.
Right.
And the offense has a superior advantage right now against the defense.
Right. I mean, try defending a James Harden or somebody like that if you're not allowed to touch him.
Yeah. And as we just saw, Carr made the James Harden move or the Kevin Durant move against Webster to get to the foul line. Tactical touch turns into 2 free throws for Carr.
Tony Carr, the Pelicans' second-round pick, 51st overall, after a couple of years at Penn State, where he averaged just under 20 points a game last season. First team All-Big Ten, I should say.
He should have went to Indiana.
Isn't that true of anybody? Any good player?
Any good player. We want them all at IU.
He took an early 10-point lead here, down to 7, make it 6. 28-22 as Carr connects. And back the other way for the Heat. Handling the ball now is Matt Farrell, rookie out of Notre Dame. And the Heat continue to connect from three-point range. Gerard Jones knocks it down. They're now 4 of 7 from the great beyond. Carr has it, nearly slipped. Back over to Chasen Randall. Derek Willis out of Kentucky has it. Baseline, oh, what a play.
And that came from the reason why Green was so open on the baseline. That came from weak side pick and roll, swing the basketball back to the strong side. You make the defender help, and now he's open on the baseline for the dunk.
Great play, really, by both players. It was well defended, and Garland Green got the bucket anyways. Rashad Vaughn launches from 3. Garland Green, by the way, for folks who don't know, is the brother of Gerald Green.
Oh, that explains the hop.
That explains the hop. Runs in the family. Heat shot over 60% for this game. And if you don't like the Heat, there are plenty of opportunities to get cool. here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it looks like they're working hard, Matt.
Miami shot at 4 of 7 from three-point range so far.
Yeah, and when you look at, again, they like to stretch the floor, Miami does, and they like to have their big guys step out and knock down the three-point shot. And that's what Jones has been able to do, and thus far is 2 for 2 from the three-point line.
Back to live action now. Cliff Alexander lost it, got it back. And he's operating out of the post. Trying to get to his right shoulder, but lost it. It's a turnover on New Orleans. Matt Farrell brings it back for the Heat. Touched on Bam Adebayo at the top of the broadcast, and he is not playing here this afternoon. No huge surprise. He's taking a look at Alvin Gentry. Always smile on his face. There's Bam, second-year man out of Kentucky.
You know,
had some moments here.
Yeah, this is an important summer for Bam. And, you know, when you flash on the screen Alvin Gentry, you know, he had a great year. And I thought he had a difficult year from a coaching standpoint because that team, when they started out, Pelicans started out a little rocky. And then he was able to regroup them, get them back together, and they finished strong. And the Pelicans, you know, future looked really bright right now, even though they lost Cousins,
right,
as we're taking a look at Bam on the bench.
Swept the Portland Trailblazers in the first round of the playoffs, one of the more surprising results. Not necessarily that they won the series, but that they won it so easily against that Blazer team that had risen to the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, and then they were beaten by Golden State in 5.
Yeah, we were all surprised and pretty shocked at that sweep, the Pelicans against Portland, because when you look back at the guard play, you thought that Portland had the advantage going into that series at the guard spot.
Take a look at Frank Jackson there. Not playing today because of a left ankle sprain.
Delayed game.
There's Frank. Had 13 in the opener here and then suffered that ankle sprain, and he is done for the rest of this event. Second round pick. Jason Randall chases that down for New Orleans. Back come the Pelicans down by 5, looking to get it to Alexander. And they are pushing pace. This is the way Alvin Gentry would like to play. And reportedly, the Pelicans had offered DeMarcus Cousins a deal when he was in rehab that would have kept him there, a shorter-term deal, 2 years or so. But I wonder if part of their thinking, not only the injury, but how successful they were when he left, and the fact that they really do just want to play awfully fast, and that doesn't necessarily fit his game.
Well, you see when you let Davis have the whole floor. That was nice.
Good finish by T.J. Hogue there. Somehow that fell.
But when you let Davis have the whole floor to roam in terms of, you know, exploiting every part of his offensive game, defensively, shot blocking, playing in the low post, and then being able to go out and shoot the three. You know, you really give him the breadth to play the entire floor. And with Cousins there, even though they were a great duo, now you get to maximize Davis' strength and ability.
Well, and Drew Holiday was fantastic in that series. Rajon Rondo was in playoff mode, but no longer part of the picture now in New Orleans as well.
I think they're going to miss Rondo.
I think they will as well, particularly in the postseason. You know, if you look at Rajon's day-to-day numbers with New Orleans, they were all over the place. There were nights when he would take 4 shots, and there were nights when he'd have 20 assists, and you just didn't necessarily know because he was going to play whatever was necessary. But in the playoffs, it's a different animal.
Totally different. And the thing about Rondo, what most people don't realize is how much respect the opposing guards have for him on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, not only is he a competitor, but they also see a champion, and they see a leader, and they see someone that understands the game is going to come out and compete against them.
Well, and he's always listed among the smartest players in the NBA in terms of basketball IQ. Chris Paul is on that list typically as well. But anybody who's ever coached him or played with him will tell you he is brilliant in terms of not missing anything and knowing scouting reports, knowing other team sets, and everything there is to know about a game before he goes in.
Yeah, like we both have said, I think we both were a little surprised that the Pelicans let him get away because he played well for them.
And it's not like he signed a huge deal in LA. It wasn't like he signed a big money long-term deal in Los Angeles. Had a 21 assist game in the series against the Warriors. See his season numbers, and again, that don't really tell you the story because on a given night, he could completely dominate the game without scoring more than a handful of points.
Yeah, and that used to be the mark of a great point guard, and that's what we used to say about Magic, right? Magic can beat you without scoring a point,
right?
Because of his intellect, because of his understanding of the game. And statistically, what we can't measure right now, we can't measure Rondo's intellect. We can't measure how he can control a basketball game with his intellect.
Duncan Robinson returns for the Heat.
Interesting free throw style from Justin Tillman. Watch him step into this free throw. Rookie out of VCU after 4 seasons there. Takes a step. In rhythm, lets it go.
We've seen some unique free throw shooting styles here in the Summer League. We've seen the underhand, the two-hand underhand Rick Barry style, and now we've seen the old Wilt Chamberlain. I'm going to step in and try it to see if I can make it.
There's Hogue from 3. Got it. DJ Hogue knocks it down. Rookie out of Texas A&M, where he shot just under 38% from three-point range last season. Macon turned away by Hogue. Robinson hands it off to Jones. It is off the mark. And Walt Lemon pushes Hogue inside to Sheck Diallo. And again, New Orleans pushing pace and getting easy buckets.
Pushing pace, and you got to credit Sheck Diallo for running the floor.
Pelicans won 48 games last season. Macon inside and sets up Jones.
Matt, for as smart as NBA players, coaches, the fraternity is about basketball, still the one play in the game is the high screen and roll that we still haven't figured out how to cover.
It's true. It's true. The most basic play there is. It's a puzzle. First round of the tournament began here yesterday, and you mentioned the Hawks were down 27 against the Pacers and came back to win with Trae Young, knocking down 7 of his 14 for 23 shots. Walt Lemon with a technical free throw there, as we had a technical foul on Daryl Macon. Colin Sexton, I saw him in person as he went for 25 in a win over the Kings, and there's a huge celebration in Canada today because the Raptors got their first Summer League win.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, Canada.
He beat the Nuggets. Lemon taken down at the rim. He'll get to the free throw line. Walter Lemon went for 19 against Miami in the Pelicans' first win against the Heat here on Saturday. In fact, he was plus 24 in that game. Spent last season in the G League with Fort Wayne, where he averaged just under 18 a game. Third team all G League last season. Also had a couple of 10 days with the New Orleans Pelicans.
And he's someone that the Pelicans has, over the last couple of months, as you can see, they've definitely have taken an interest in him and want to see if he continues to develop and how he develops. And they see something in him that, and this is what the scouts and the coaches do, they may see something in one player, and they may ask him to go and work on those things just to see if he has done it.
Duncan Robinson.
Robinson scores again to give him 9 here early on. And Miami retakes the lead. Got a tie up at center.
Now they
Now we got a foul.
Fouls on the Heat's number 54, Daryl Macon.
Daryl Macon thought he had a tie up,
Fourth team foul.
but he doesn't get final say.
No, he doesn't. The guy in the striped shirt has the final say. And speaking of final say, that was a nice back cut. Robinson came off the slice screen and was able to finish. And we talked about his shot making, but now we saw him moving without the basket.
DJ Hogue from deep. Very comfortable taking that shot. He's got 8.
Yeah, he's knocked down 2 3-pointers, Matt, that he looked easy.
Made a couple of nice defensive plays as well. As he tries to impress here in Las Vegas. Carr, again, Pelicans on the run. And again, converting at the rim. Trayvon Blewett. Jones out to Robinson. Nice look inside to find Macon. As Robinson passed on the 3 for the easy 2. Sheck Diallo now.
Diallo.
It is a breakneck pace back and forth between these two. Walton again inside. It's Mayton. Keeps finding his way open into the paint.
Foul in the lane. Fouls on the Pelicans, number 12, Trayvon Blewett. Second personal.
Well, again, this is a classic fast break. You had a trailer. You had 2 wings running wide. And Blewett was able to run that right wing and make the layup.
You know, this is a guy, Blewett, who is very determined. Remember, after he went undrafted, he tweeted immediately, "Nobody said it would be easy." Then a shrugging emoji, and he said, "I love it, #still." He played 4 years at Xavier, and he said, being in college 4 years helped to polish my game. It helped me in this situation with knowledge and wisdom, perhaps in comparison to one-and-done guys. So out here showing his poise and determination, guys.
Second team All-American last season at Xavier. It's Hogue. Tries the mid-range shot.
You know, Roz, I do think the 4-year players in settings like this, they do have an advantage because they do understand how to play. They played in the system for 4 years. They've been taught the fundamentals of basketball. And they do have an advantage in this setting compared to the players who have only played 1 or 2 years of college.
You know, Isaiah, with your hat as an executive in this league in the past, is that better, the idea of a poise and wisdom and experience for a 4-year player? Is that outweigh the idea that, okay, it's a negative if a guy had to be in college for 4 years?
No, I think that the 4-year in this setting and also trying to make a basketball team, it actually helps you because most of your NBA stars, okay, those are the one-and-done players, those are the superstars. But in a setting like this, teams are looking for somebody who can be their 11th or 12th man on their basketball team in this type of setting. Someone that they can take, develop, and grow, and that's what most of these players are. So the 4-year players will have an advantage in this situation.
Well, and you see every year, coming here for years now, you see lots of 4-year players who excel, and you see older guys who excel in the Summer League because they know their games, they've grown into their bodies. You'll see 25, 26-year-olds who've been playing in Europe for 4 or 5 years who can really dominate here. Raj just told you about Trayvon Blewett's intensity and determination to find a job in the NBA. He's got some skill to go with it.
He's got some skill to go with it, but making an NBA roster, Matt, is so difficult. And, you know, a lot of times it doesn't really come down to your skill or level of play. It really does come down to your personality and being able to fit, you know, with the teammates on that team and be a practice player.
Sometimes it comes down to the math as well. You'll look at all those guaranteed contracts and see if there's any space available for you, because sometimes there just isn't. And that's where the G League has come in handy. And some of these players will have to weigh opportunities overseas versus going to the G League and pursuing the NBA dream.
But I heard Jeff Van Gundy say you want to be a low-maintenance player in terms of your personality. And that's what teams right now are looking for, guys who are low-maintenance, show up to practice and play.
Well, especially if you're not a star. Fit in, be quiet, do your work.
Matt, I don't see too many stars out here playing right now.
No. Some future stars.
On the wing.
Jones, I think, is going to get whistled for the foul. Thought he had gotten the block. It is Jones. Gerard Jones first.
This is first.
Mason has 3 fouls now for Miami. And at this stage of the tournament, it only takes 6 fouls to foul out to be disqualified, as opposed to the 10 you're afforded early on.
10 fouls was like when you used to play in the backyard. It's 10 fouls and then we fight. Because the 11th foul was, I'm not taking this anymore.
Walt Lemon connects. Pelicans on top by 1. Pretty good one to start here at Cox Pavilion in Vegas. Tillman with the finishes. He got good post position down low. Had his man pinned nearly under the basket.
2 minutes.
Already 6 lead changes. Walton to Tillman. Boy, the NBA has changed so much. Walton turned the corner and looked behind him over his shoulder to the three-point line.
Yeah, look for the 3 first, and then he dropped it on the baseline for an easy layup. And as you said, that's what the NBA game is now. You look for the 3, and then you take the easy 2.
And then Walton drew the foul on the illegal screen by Sheck Diallo. See a ton of illegal screens in Summer League typically.
And most of the time when an illegal screen is called, it's usually the ball handler's fault because he doesn't wait for the screener, and he runs that defender right into his offensive man, and he doesn't give him time to get set.
Well, he's still moving, yeah. Walton will pull up. He's fouled. And Derek Walton will get a couple of free throws for his effort. Miami took an early 10-point lead here. Pelicans ran their way back into it. They have run at every opportunity here so far, just the way Alvin Gentry likes it.
You know, when you look at point guards in the NBA today, they must have a high motor. And what I mean by high motor is that ball is in their hands 90% of the time, and they're asked to play pick and roll. Not only are they asked to play pick and roll 90% of the time on the offensive side, but now they got to go back and they got to defend pick and roll 90% of the time. So that point guard right now, he has to be your main motor out on the floor.
Diallo fouled by Robinson. Sheck Diallo played 52 games with the Pelicans as a rookie last season. Limited time, just under 5 points a game, but shot 58%. That is his game. Also spent another 26 games in the G League. Second round pick by the Clippers originally and traded to the Pelicans in 2016. Good looking stroke. Minute to go here before halftime. Our first game of the day. Tillman will tee up the 3. It's well off. And back come the Pelicans. Lemon tried to get that through there, ill-advised. Walton and Lemon got back into the play to disrupt it. Robinson couldn't finish at the rim.
And you know,
kind of in no man's land there between a dunk and a layup.
Yeah, and you got to give Lemon credit for basically getting back into the play and also disrupting Robinson's step, making him take a half step as opposed to a full step so he couldn't gather.
Carr couldn't get it. Diallo with the follow-up. 15 now for Sheck Diallo.
Timeout.
Good start for him. And we have a one-point game yet again. It's been competitive from the get-go here in Vegas. The Heat lead it late in the first, 54-53. From Las Vegas, the Junior NBA World Championship is the NBA's first ever global youth basketball tournament for top 13 and 14-year-old boys and girls teams from around the world. The inaugural event will feature boys and girls divisions, each comprised of 16 teams that will compete this August on Fox and FS1. To learn more, visit juniornba.com/World Championship. All ages are welcome here at Summer League. Got a lot of kids on the floor at any given time. Not much older than some of those 13 and 14-year-olds in that World Championship.
You know,
Guys coming in at 18 and 19.
yeah, when you think about it, it's only, what, a 3 or 4 year difference before you get to the NBA. That's how fast it goes.
Nifty moves by Lemon. Couldn't connect on the shot. Tillman grabs the rebound, and that'll wrap up the first half. Both teams shot better than 50% in the first half. Really good offensive showings from both sides here. And the Heat will take a one-point lead to the half. It's 54-53 coming up in the half. Sights and sounds of the NBA Summer League. Stick around.
It's the site of the 2018 NBA Summer League.
Hey, stay strong. Stay strong.
We've got great matchups almost every time you turn around.
To Las Vegas, the site of the 2018 NBA Summer League.
Hey, stay strong. Stay strong.
We've got great matchups almost every time you turn around.
Very excited being on that floor, just running up and down with the guys.
Let's get a stop right out here. Here we go. Defense.
Oh, Jared Jackson got him again.
And what a block.
Oh, Daniel House is in the house.
Bob called me and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but we have a shot at DeMarcus Cousins." And we just felt like we didn't have enough all-stars. So Wayne Selden. I'm wondering what someone said to Selden. And Bender with a big block.
Oh, what a redirection by Jordan Young.
Not only the redirection, but the vision. That's why he belongs in the NBA.
Knox feeling it. Grooving that one.
Oh, the follow.
With the one-hand jam. On the break. Room service. In a big way.
The Summer League has become amazing. All 30 teams here for the first time.
Yes, sir.
Back in Las Vegas for continuation of the MGM Resorts NBA Summer League. We've got a good one so far between the Heat and the Pelicans. A rematch here has yielded a 54-53 first half. Back with the Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas. I'm Matt Weiner. If you like offense, you like this game so far because this was a good offensive output from both teams.
Yeah, and what I like is that they're moving the basketball, they're sharing the basketball, and they're making good, sound offensive plays. And when they get three-point shots, they're knocking them down.
And everybody's gotten involved. Sheck Diallo with 15 points in the first half. Gerard Jones has contributed as well for the Miami Heat. He's got 13 on 5 of 8 shooting.
And what's interesting is that when we talk about Jones being a big man, he stretches the floor, and he's able to knock down the three. That's what he's been doing in this game thus far. And I'm sure they talked about it at halftime. But when you talk about Diallo, right, how has he scored? Well, he likes to get to the basket. He's not shooting the three. He's scoring inside the paint, and he's putting pressure on that Miami defense constantly. So we have the tale of two big men and how they're both scoring, but they're both scoring in different ways.
Both players listed at 6'9". Diallo has not attempted a three. He's 6 of 9 from the field. Almost all of that, well, I think all of it was in the paint. And Gerard Jones knocked down 3 of 5 from three-point range. 3 of the 5 Heat three-pointers are off his fingertips so far. Both teams shot better than 50% from the field. Turnovers relatively low for both teams, particularly for a Summer League contest. Just 13 between the two of them. At some point, somebody is going to want to get some stops to win this game in advance in the tournament.
Well, you hit the key point, Matt, when you said the turnovers are relatively low. And when you have low turnovers, that means you have good offense that's being played on both sides of the ball. So one of these teams are going to have to establish themselves defensively and start creating some turnovers so they can get more into transition.
Both teams, in terms of their NBA identities, were sort of middle of the road defensively, both ranked in the teens in defensive efficiency. Doesn't necessarily apply to their Summer League representatives. Diallo right back to work here in the third quarter on a pick and roll with Lemon feeding him, and Diallo will get to the free throw line 12 seconds into the third quarter.
And the Pelicans ran a low screening roll that time, and what we call a low screening roll, it's below the free throw line, it's below the top of the key, and Diallo was able to set the screen, and consequently he was in the lane in one bounce.
Fourth foul on Landry Noko. And again, players are only afforded 6 here at this stage of Summer League, so we have Summer League foul trouble, Zeke. Don't say that very often.
We don't say that very often, and we should say it more often because over the years we've seen a lot of players, Matt, that should have fouled out of the game.
Walton inside to Gerard Jones. Duncan Robinson back to Jones on the repost to fade away and shows the touch. He's given us a little of everything here so far.
Yeah, and that's something that we didn't know that he had, the low post game that he just showed right there to go along with the three-point shot.
Shot is up and in for Blewett. Trayvon Blewett has shown in this Summer League he really knows how to score the basketball. That's 9 points for Blewett. Robinson back to Walton. Walton is tied up. Let's send it over to Roz Gold on Wood-A, and she's with Kelly Olynyk.
Kelly, it's cool seeing you here supporting your Heat team. You had a year with them under your belt. You had some big minutes in playoffs.
I can't make sense.
Now, where do you think you might get even more comfortable with the team in year 2?
You know, it's just another year in that system, you know, with the same coaches, same guys, you know, just kind of, you know, building that chemistry, you know, on and off the court, and you know, hopefully it translates and we can keep, you know, making that push forward.
And hopefully you guys can stay healthy. You had a bunch of injuries. Like, if you guys are able to stay healthy, I know you return a lot of the same roster. The East, certainly, landscape has changed without LeBron and things like that. What's the jump you can make this season, especially after last year's playoffs?
I think it was good for us to make the playoffs and get a little bit of experience, you know, together. And, you know, hopefully we can stay healthy. That was a big thing last year with a bunch of us. So if we can stay healthy and keep that unit together, I think the sky's the limit for us and we can really make a push.
One thing you have going is a lot of depth in the front court. I mean, it's you, it's Bam, it's Hassan. Just thinking about for this season, how can you guys manage the minutes, the responsibility, so that all of you guys are happy and all of you guys can be productive?
You know, that's for the coaching staff to figure out, you know. That's what they're there for. But you know, we're supporting each other. You know, we're excited for each other's successes, and you know, whether it's me, Bam, JJ, Hassan, you know, Lou, whoever's there, we're all there for each other, and you know, that's what makes a good team.
How do you think your strengths complement each other with everything each one of you brings?
You know, I think everybody can do a little bit different stuff, and you know, that's what makes it tough to guard. And you know, hopefully, you know, kind of be on the same page, and you know, inside out, outside in, whatever it is, you know, kind of play together.
I see you on the sidelines here. I don't know if you're playing coach, or are you just watching? Are you giving feedback? What's happening on the sidelines?
Just trying to help. You know, just trying to help these guys out. You know, whatever way you can, and you know, kind of be here, support, and kind of just show support for the coaches, the assistant coaches that are out here doing their jobs, and just kind of fill in wherever you can.
What growth are you hoping for, and possibly even seeing here for returning guys like Bam or even Derrick Jones Jr. stuff like that? I know he's out with the ankle, but what are you seeing?
Yeah, just an opportunity to kind of expand your game, grow your game, try things out. When you're young and you're in the NBA, you don't always get that opportunity in the regular season or the playoffs or whatever it is. So you work tirelessly during the year, on off days, on after practice, before practice, and you never kind of get to put it into play. And this is an opportunity to do that, and now just see how much you improved after 1 year, in the Basketball Association. So it's kind of big, and it's fun for these guys to get out here and kind of be featured and highlighted a little bit.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time, and I'll let you get back to supporting and kind of being on the sidelines with your team.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, guys.
All right, Roz. Kelly averaged 11.5 points a game in his first year in Miami after signing a free agent deal away from the Boston Celtics. It's interesting, though, Zeke, when you think about big picture for the Heat, as Robinson drops down another short bucket. He's got 11 now. I'm not a big fan of the phrase, it is what it is, but with Miami, because of their salary cap situation, they are kind of who they are. There's not a lot of flexibility in terms of they weren't players in the free agent market particularly. There were reports that they might have been looking to move Hassan Whiteside's contract, perhaps Tyler Johnson's contract. So far, at least, that hasn't happened. Neither one of those players has left via trade or some sort of transaction. So there's not tons of different ways to go for Eric Spoelstra other than what is on the roster currently.
Well, they have a great coach in Spoelstra. They have a system that they all understand. And Spoelstra, what he said about, when we talked about Robinson earlier was, can we develop players? Can we get better from within? We can't go out and attract free agents and bring free agents because we're salary strapped right now. So how do we get better from within? And that's their main concentration. And when Roz was talking to Olynyk, I couldn't help but smile to myself because I know deep down inside he's still a Raptor at heart because his mom was one of our first hires.
Is that true?
With Toronto, yes. She worked at the scorer's table.
I did not know that.
And so he's got to still be a Raptor at heart.
One of those guys who had to shovel snow to go out and shoot baskets because he grew up in Canada and it snows there and you can't play in the snow.
Yeah. But his mom was great, during those early years of us, trying to establish ourselves in terms of credibility and fan credibility in Toronto and building that franchise.
Got a technical foul here as Blewett and Macon got into it, setting up for that inbound pass. And the technical foul will be against Blewett. Derek Walton will take the free throw.
Roz said Blewett came to play, and he's showing his intensity and aggressiveness today.
Had double technicals and an ejection here yesterday in the Cleveland game we called, Cleveland-Sacramento game. No one's going to get fined. That's the good news. Can they take away your per diem for a technical foul? I don't know.
But we shouldn't be surprised at the intensity and the technicals that are being called. And this is where I think the officials really have to do a good job in terms of, controlling themselves with their whistle because these players literally are playing for their NBA, basketball career lives. And these officials are, they wanted to get to the NBA also.
Absolutely.
So, everybody here is under immense and intense pressure. So emotions are running high.
Got a lot of young men in a very emotional situation, a high-stress situation as they're trying to impress not only their coaching staff, but the other scouts who are in the room from around the NBA. Everyone knows what the rosters look like. Everyone knows how many guaranteed contracts there are on every team and which teams can afford to carry more than one or two of these guys in their summer league teams.
So
not to mention the international scouts here from leagues all over the world.
So it's probably surprising that we haven't seen more blow-ups, understanding what you just kind of described in terms of the the pressure and the intensity that these players are under.
Robinson turns the corner. Met by Alexander, who turns it away. Cliff Alexander went to camp with the Pelicans last season before he was cut.
You know, and Alexander is one of those players that grew up in Chicago, went to Curry High School, went to Kansas, and he has a good low post game. His game right now hasn't stretched to the three-point line, and that's one of the things that has held him back in the pros. But when you talk about a low post player, he's that.
Yeah, it's amazing how many players I've seen over the last few years who likely could have been regular NBA players, certainly on NBA rosters, who can't or have trouble now because of the way the game has changed. And less so Alexander, but I'm thinking about the centers who would have been backup centers on teams 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because teams don't necessarily need or want that big guy to tussle with their starter in practice every day.
And that's the thing that I don't like where our game has gone, because it's offensively it's become such specialized in terms of the three specific things that they look for, where it used to be that any body size, any body type, there was a variation of different kind of players that could play into the NBA. You didn't need to be, you know, a certain size or a certain body type to play. Right now, when we look at the NBA, everyone has, you know, it's pretty similar body size, body type.
So many guys who are long and relatively lean, between 6'7" and 6'10", because they're switchable defensively. You see some of the lineups that Philadelphia throws out, for instance. They'll have lineups occasionally, particularly when they go with Luawu if somebody's hurt and Redick's not out there, where everybody is 6'7" and tall.
Yeah, and I think that has hurt our game, you know, because we don't get the chance to see, you know, great players perform. You know, when I think about like a Oliver Miller, you know, who was an exceptional passer, shot blocker, in today's type of game, his body type wouldn't fit in this type of game. And we need, you know, this is a game that welcomed all. So right now, we got to make sure that the rule changes don't necessarily dictate that we lock people out of our game who have a love and a passion for our game.
Mayton with a block on one end, missed on the other, but Jones is there to follow up. Remember Victor Alexander?
Yes.
Great hands, big body, really good feet. Carr with the bucket for New Orleans. Well, really, since that early 10-point Miami lead, this game has been close within 4 or 5 points, basically continuously since. Alexander with the finishes. He's running the floor now with the Pelicans.
And we talked about at the start of the half, Matt, how, you know, one team was going to have to impose this, you know, defensive intensity and defensive game plan on the other team. And it seems that the Pelicans are trying to do that right now.
Alexander got caught trying to close out on Mayton. He'll pick up the foul. Pelicans off and running to a 2-point lead. The Summer League Tournament continues tonight in Las Vegas on NBA TV and the ESPN app. Got the Grizzlies and Oklahoma City coming up here next. The Spurs and Milwaukee at 8 Eastern time, and Utah and Orlando late night. Had 11 lead changes so far. Been tied 7 times. Kind of a fun offensive game for these two in a rematch here in Las Vegas already. Mayton couldn't connect. Alexander with the rebound, and back come the Pelicans. Just playing as fast as they possibly can.
You know, when we talk about playing fast, what used to be, you wanted to wear down the defense and make the defense work and try to exhaust the defense. That's how offensive thought. Nowadays, the offensive thing thought is take the first available shot that's open, whether it be 2 seconds into the shot clock, whether it be 8 seconds into the shot clock. So you're not wearing down that defender. You're more or less trying to fatigue that defender with pace as opposed to with thought.
And part of that idea as well is just not to let a defense get set, right?
Yeah.
Take off before they can get turned around, before all the eyes are on the ball handler and get a shot off. Coach Kevin Hansen is on board. The Pelican strategy that comes all the way from Alvin Gentry on down.
Well, it's definitely worked, and no one does it better right now in our league than Golden State. First, every time they're open, they're letting it go, and then when they come across half court, fortunately for them, they're open, and unfortunately for the opponent, they're open.
They have been one of the fastest-paced teams statistically during this run of 3 championships in 4 years, during the Steve Kerr era.
Well, Matt, when your range is half court and beyond, you're open.
Right.
So when you say take the first shot that's open, Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, they come across half court and they go, "Okay, coach, I'm open."
Right. Well, it's lethal because of the skill they have on that team.
Because of the
it's
skill,
one
yes.
thing just to play fast, but if your players aren't any good, it doesn't really matter,
Yes.
right? I've always said any team in the league could lead the league in scoring if that were its only goal. If you just wanted to play hyper fast and lead the league in scoring, you could do that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you'd win a lot of games.
Yes.
And the opposite is also true. You could also lead the league in fewest points allowed if you just wanted to slow it down to muddy up the game. That doesn't mean you're going to win a lot of those, but if that's your only goal, you could certainly accomplish that.
And and some coaches used to do that, just to. When we talk about playing with statistics and playing with the numbers, there are a lot of ways that you can affect the numbers by what you just described in terms of tempo, pace, shot selection, free throw shooting. I mean, those are strategies that go into the course of the game where, you can say we're only giving up X amount of points, but you're only taking X amount of shots.
Well, that's where offensive and defensive efficiency come into it. I know you love the analytics, but those take pace out of the equation. Those numbers tell you how often you allow teams to score in 100 possessions.
That's what we did with the Detroit Pistons. That's why we were one of the better defensive teams in the league, because we wanted to make sure that we exhaust you on the defensive side of the ball. But when we were on offense, right, we wanted to make sure that we got a good shot and we take time off the clock.
There are also arguments, there are some teams whose coaches know, hey, we don't have the most potent offensive team out there. We want to slow it down.
Yes.
Like, we want a greater margin for error here.
Yeah.
Because we know we can't score with most teams around the league.
And when we talked about, just a couple of minutes ago, we had different body types. We had different variety in the game. It wasn't, what we're watching here today, all we see is high screen and roll. Well, the reason why we had different variety in our game and different body types because we used all facets of the floor to control tempo and control the game. So there would be one team you would play against that was a strong defensive team, but they like to take the air out of the ball.
Right.
So your job was to make sure that you speed the game up. And then it would be a chess match to see who could win the game playing that way. Right now, it's a chess match to see who can play the same way.
Well, some of that's allocating your energy, too. If you've decided to slow it down and really work on the defensive end, then maybe not pushing offensively every trip makes some sense.
Yeah.
Big step from Gerard Jones. It falls, and he'll get the bucket. He's got 19 now and a chance for 20 at the free throw line. That was a long, deliberate step he took to set up that shot and draw the foul.
Well, what the Euro step has done to our game is that long pause, hesitation now of the Euro step. Players have learned, and players will always learn to expand their game and get better. If you give them a crack, they're going to make it a foot. So now we got the Euro step now into a step back, the Euro step into sideways, the Euro step, you know, that turns into a walk step, a dance step, and then the cha-cha-cha.
Nice footwork from Alexander. That was old school post footwork a la Kevin McHale down there, but he couldn't get the shot to go for him. Good reverse pivot by Jones on the other end. And he's got 22 now. Blew it, pick and roll with Alexander. Gets caught underneath, comes out of it, and drops it home. It's a little old school mixed in with the new school for you.
I mean, old school, and when you look at Alexander, you say he's got an old body, too. Old school, old body.
Boy, you got to love that defensive length by Hogue on the block here a moment ago.
Calls on the Pelicans, number 20.
Good stuff. Both teams shooting around 50%. Heat with a 2-point advantage and plenty to come. Gerard Jones is one of the dozens of players looking for a spot in the NBA, and based on today's effort at least, you'd have to say he's opened some eyes.
Yeah, he's definitely opened some eyes, Matt. But you know what the pro coaches look for is consistency. Right? Can you do this every single night? Do we know what we're going to get from you every single night? And then we can game plan. Because if you're going to be an inconsistent player, then I can't game plan. I can't coach an inconsistent player. But if I know exactly what I'm going to get from you every single time you step out on the floor, Coach Spoelstra will say, okay, I can put you in the game for these 3 minutes because I know what to expect and I know what you're going to do.
His resume certainly doesn't fit the profile of a prospect at the age of 28. Gerard played his college ball at Ball State. He's been around a little bit. Played professionally in Hungary, Italy, last season in Turkey, where he averaged just under 18 points a game on 50% shooting.
I think what's going to happen to our game, Matt, in the future is that potential tag and that development tag is going to go away. You're either going to have to be a good player now or not.
Really, even with all the 18 and 19-year-olds being drafted right now?
If you look at the 18 and 19-year-olds that were drafted, all of them can play. They can step right into the league and play right now. And what I think is getting ready to happen is guys like Jones, who are 27, 28 years old, these are going to be your 8th, 9th, and 10th man on the team because they know how to play and they all have already developed.
28 years old and 24 points in the books here with a minute and a half to go in the third quarter. Gerard Jones is having an afternoon against the Pelicans. And they may need him down the stretch because this has been close throughout. Heat's lead is 3. Here's Jones from 3.
He was feeling a little too good on that one.
I mean, he's comfortable out there. We saw him hit 3 threes in the first half. Here's Green back to Hogue. And over to Jason Randall. Cliff Alexander from the mid-post. To his left, little lefty hook won't go. Green came flying in there like he meant business, but couldn't collect it.
Checking in for the Heat, number 64, Justin Tillman.
Jones will take a seat here, the final minute of the third quarter at least. Rotations don't necessarily work the way a regular season NBA game would. So you never know what the coaching staff has in mind for a player. We might see Jones come back in the fourth quarter, we might not.
Yeah, and when we talk about Jones, Matt, in that last 3 that he took, you know, it's really about shot selection too. So why did he miss that last 3? I mean, that was a challenge 3. That wasn't a wide open 3. And that's what these little things are the things that coaches look for. Do you take good shots? Do you take open shots? Are you a player that will take challenge shots? And are you a player that will make challenge shots?
Matt Farrell finds Mayton ahead of the pack. And Deontay Mayton has 17 now, the SEC Player of the Year out of the University of Georgia. Alexander with the handoff to Randall, short on the three. Ty Webster thought about the three, puts it on the deck instead, and it falls for Webster. Ty Webster from New Zealand. Played his college ball at Nebraska. And last year in Germany. Well traveled.
And that's the beautiful thing about our game, Matt. It's been exposed and they play it all over the world and they play it at a high level.
That is the end of the third quarter.
Got 10 minutes to go here in what has been an up and down game. The Heat will carry a 5-point lead into the fourth. Back at Cox Pavilion on the campus of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where the Heat take a 5-point lead into the fourth quarter on the New Orleans Pelicans. And the story from Miami has been 28-year-old Gerard Jones, who has 24 on 10 of 17 shooting. He's on the bench as we start the fourth quarter. Matt Weiner, the Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas by my side. Rosgold on Woode on the sideline for us as well. Tillman working the boards. Tough landing down low.
That was a tough fall.
Tony Carr hit the deck hard. See the Heat scoring distribution. Yante Maton and Gerard Jones have scored more than half their points so far.
Yeah, and Jones' productivity has been very good. And, you know, he comes out of the game, and now Diallo comes in the game for the Pelicans, who's, you know, got 21 points right now. And it's been a battle of the big man. You know, Jones with 24 and Diallo with 21. And let's see if at the end of the game, if the game is close enough, will these two be on the floor at the same time?
You know, the thing with Sheikh Diallo, the coaching staff talks about this guy's motor and energy level, and that's what really separates him to be able to make plays on either end of the court. You know, let's not forget, this is the same guy that came into Summer League with big talk, saying he didn't just want to come to Vegas for Vegas. He wanted to actually come here and win. He wanted to be the tournament MVP. I mean, he has a lot of purpose and competitive nature as he comes out here.
And he's got to play with energy. That's just going to be part of his profile. What a finish by Walt Lemon Jr. Did you catch that, Zeke?
Yeah, I saw that, and that makes you want to look at that again twice, because the spin move.
A lot going on here.
And now he checks, look, oh, switch hands. I'm going to scoop it on the left. I'm going to bounce it off the glass, and then I'm going to give you a little smile on the way back down court.
Might have gotten an extra step in there. There might have been a hook in there. There are a lot of stuff, a lot going on in that play.
Well, you know, Matt, when the officials officiate the game, they officiate the defense only from the waist up. So they don't look at your feet. That's why they miss so many traveling calls.
It's a great example of what Diallo has to be at the NBA level. Crashing the boards there, being active, as Roz mentioned. He's going to be a roll man on the pick and roll.
And from a coaching standpoint, and even from a teammate playing with someone, the worst thing that you can have from your teammate or player is low energy and low effort. And the fact that nowadays we have to describe players with high motors, with energy and effort, it just lets you know where we've slipped at in some aspects of our game, because every player should be able to bring energy and effort to the floor.
Got our 13th lead change of the afternoon, 83-82. Pelicans lead it now. So when you played, I mean, there has to be a variation as Rashad Vaughn knocks down the three. It's another lead change. Miami up by 2 now. When you played, I mean, there has to be a variation in motors, for lack of a better word. Some people just, it's part of who they are. Dennis Rodman comes to mind, your teammate. That guy just had a motor known for rebounding.
Well, there's a variation in speed there's not a variation in terms of effort and energy that you should be able to put out on the floor from a concentration standpoint. Now, some players jump higher than others. Some players run faster than others. But the fact that you can't bring the same amount of energy and effort and intensity to the game as your teammate, that's uncalled for. Everyone should be able to bring that to the game.
Sure. Air ball led to the run out, but that was overthrown. Miami will get it right back.
It's almost impossible to coach a player who has low energy and low effort.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And you don't want to play with that guy.
I guess I'm equating motor with something other than just effort. It's sort of, it's almost like, when people talk about metabolism.
Yeah, I equate motor with your willingness to want to compete, give energy, and be intense. I do not equate motor with necessarily speed, because that's a different kind of skill.
Well, I guess I'm thinking more in terms of conditioning, for one, and your ability to just keep going, because you can put all the effort, you can go 100% effort and still slow down.
Well, if you give me 100% effort and slow down, I can coach that.
Right. But there's some guys who can give the 100% effort for a longer period of time because that's how they're built.
Yes, but when you're not given 100% effort,
sure, that's a different question altogether. I think we're on the same page.
Yes.
Coming at it from different directions. So who's the best motor you ever played with?
The best motor that I ever played with?
Yeah.
Well, we had a lot of high motor guys that I played. I mean, Rodman was the fastest, but in terms of just being able to sustain energy and effort for long periods of time.
Sustainability, that's the perfect word for it.
Yeah, we had 7, 8 guys that could play at that level of high energy for long periods of time. But again, some people ran faster than others.
Sure, that's different. Yeah.
But when you look at, you wouldn't think a guy like a Lambier or a Mahorn would be called high motor guys.
Right.
But they were. When they showed up every single night they walked out on the floor, you got 100% effort from Lambier and Mahorn when they showed up.
Miami's pushing again. It's Walton. Doesn't really have numbers, but he'll get it over to Vaughn on the trail 3. Mayton with the offensive board. Turns, fires, hits. That's easy. Kind of looked around for a three-point shooter and then said, you know what? I'm 4 feet from the basket.
And most teams are taught when they get an offensive rebound, they kick it back out to the three-point line. But the easiest way to score points in the NBA is to be a great offensive rebounder, particularly right now because there's only 2 people in the lane, as we see. So if you can offensive rebound, you can score points in the game, a la Clint Capella.
Mayton stood up there and fouled. He's got 19. Well, how deadly are the Golden State Warriors off a miss on an offensive rebound? All of a sudden, Steph Curry pops out that left corner and you're buried.
Yeah. Well, they have different kind of three-point shooters.
Yes. Landry Noko, excuse me, I said Mayton. Landry Noko at the line for Miami. He wears 70, Mayton wears 71.
45, Cliff Alexander, both return for the Pelicans. Number 14, Derek Walton Jr., number 62, Duncan Robinson, both return for the Heat.
Almost getting to the point in the game where you're curious to see who's going to finish for Miami, the way it's played out, and New Orleans.
I'm looking at Macon here with number 54. And as a guard, I would have never worn number 50. I would have been mad if they would given me that number in camp.
I was going to say, he may not have had a choice.
Yeah, you're number 54.
Blew it out to Green. Got Mayton out on him. Mismatch and takes advantage of it. Good patience by Garland Green. Blow by Mayton to get the easy 2. And we are tied again at 18. Green has 14. Good look there to set up Noko.
Well, that's why Macon has number 54, because he can penetrate, get to the lane, and he makes smart decisions when he get there.
25 assists now for the Miami Heat. Macon into the teeth of that defense again, and it drops for him. Miami's lead is now 4.
I think number 54 is the right number for Macon, Matt.
Good choice.
Macon is bringing home the bacon right now.
And he collects the offensive board on, or the defensive board on cue, and brings it back up for Miami, up by 4. Lemon will take the foul. And New Orleans will take a timeout.
I mean, as it gets to the foul line, drops it right in the pocket for a nice layup for Nova.
Set up for what could be a very good finish to a pretty entertaining Vegas Summer League game. The Heat lead it 92-88. Both teams have shot the ball well pretty much from the get-go. The pace has been quick, to say the least. The execution has been excellent.
And it's a low turnover game, Matt. A total of 21 turnovers for both teams combined. And that means that you got good offensive execution going on.
Lemon made it all the way to the rim and came up short on the layup. He's looking for a foul. Walton brings it back the other way for Miami. Screen from Noko. Walton with the floater. He's fouled on the attempt.
It's on the Pelicans, number 5, Jason Randall. That is his third.
Third foul on Chasen Randall.
Team's 5th.
And Walton goes to the line.
Derek Walton Jr.
9 assists already for Derek Walton to go with his 10 points. I mentioned before the break, he'd have 25 assists. The Vegas Summer League record, 27.
By who?
The Portland Trailblazers back in 2006.
Gerard Jones returns.
Is that one player or the team?
The team.
The team, 27 assists.
27, no, the team. The Heat as a team have 25 at the moment.
Okay.
I don't know the individual record off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can find it.
Well,
I'll get back to you.
Talking to
Marcus Williams holds the individual record with 17 back in 2009.
I'm sure if you put Magic Johnson here or John Stockton here or even myself here, we're not
Jason Kidd,
we're not impressed with 25, 26 assists by the team.
40-minute game. 40-minute game. About a 48-minute game.
Yeah,
well, as you know from watching these games, you don't always get that level of execution with players who are often thrown together.
Yeah.
Running sets they may or may not be familiar with. Randall at the free throw line now.
And unfortunately, so many players right now, they measure themselves by how many points they're scoring as opposed to how many assists they get or how many rebounds they get. I mean, there's so much emphasis on scoring right now that the way players measure themselves and the way people measure players right now is by how many points do you score, not necessarily how many assists you get.
Randall made it a 4-point game. Walton back to the floater, wouldn't go. Offensive board is up and back for Gerard Jones. Back in the game for Miami. And now with 26 points, the 28-year-old has had himself an afternoon at the Pelicans' expense.
And when we talk about assists, that was a beautiful assist that Walton just gave Jones on a tip assist. You know, it was right in the middle of the play where he controls the tip, and he makes a pass off the tip.
Side out to the Pelicans, 19 on the shot clock, and under 4 minutes to go on the game clock here in regulation. Randall to Diallo, got it, and one. And Sheck Diallo has proven very adept at the role in a variety of pick and rolls here.
Yeah, as we said, it's going to come down at the end of the game. You're looking at Diallo and Jones, and Diallo has great hands, able to finish around the basket, has a nice touch from the foul line, but can he control Jones' three-point shooting ability on the other end?
He's having a monster game, 26 points and 13 rebounds now for Diallo, who, as Roz told us, aspires to be the Summer League MVP here in Vegas. Heat by 3, looking to add to it. Through Jones' hands, back come the Pelicans. They've got numbers. Lemon to Green. Held it up. Back to Lemon, into the paint, and the finish. And it's a 1-point game.
Good drive and explosion by Lemon, finishing with his strong hand, which is his left hand.
Walton held off Randall, high off the glass, no good, but there's Javon Jones, and he's got 28. Jones and Diallo continue to duel. Even 3 minutes to go now with the Heat up by 3. Lemon this time goes to his right, back to the left hand. Hitting English on it, but it wouldn't go. Let's see what Maton decides to do. Robinson's been relatively quiet this second half. Leads it for Walton. Back rims the 3. Lemon to his right, back to the left hand, and good. Walter Lemon Jr.
And Lemon has constantly put pressure on the defense, and going downhill, and again finishing, reversing on that left-hand side.
He's got 16 and a chance for more when we come back. Walter Lemon Jr. is at the free throw line now, sitting on 16 points, a chance for 17, a chance to tie up this game at 98. Lemon had 19 in the first meeting with the Miami Heat when he came off the bench and posted a plus 24 in that game. Can't connect on the free throws, so it's a 1-point Miami lead now with 2:20 to go here in the fourth. Turnover. Back come the Pelicans. Randall with a bucket and a lead. Big mistake by Miami in a low turnover game.
Low turnover game, and this is when the coaches and the scouts get really excited, because this is when they want to see, can players execute under pressure and can they run the game plan?
That's 17 lead changes here this afternoon. Jones tried to get it to Robinson, goes through his hands. Back-to-back turnovers for Miami. And the Pelicans give it right back. Here's Macon for 3. Got it. Daryl Macon.
Big shot by Macon. I love number 54, Matt. That's my number.
Looking good on Daryl Macon, who gives Miami the lead again at 101-99. Here's Lemon. Got Walton in front of him. He'll take the 3 off the front rim. And Miami collects it. Now with 1:10 to go in the fourth quarter. Taken out by half court. Over to Walton into the corner. Walton will take the 3 of the shot clock, beats the clock, a huge bucket for Miami as the Heat go up by 4. And on that play, the Heat set a new Summer League record for assists in a game with their 28th of the afternoon.
Way to move the basketball. That's the way you play basketball.
Been a fun one here this afternoon. Miami leads at 104-99 with under 50 seconds to go. Despite a bad mistake a few possessions ago by Macon, Chasing Randall comes back the other way to get the easy 2 for the Pelicans, but New Orleans gave it right back on their next trip down, and that led to a Macon 3. And moments ago, Duncan Robinson with Miami's 28th assist of the afternoon and his Summer League record. And Derek Walton Jr. hit the big 3 to put Miami up 104-99, and that is where we stand with 49.5 seconds to go. see what the Pelicans have drawn up out of the timeout. Diallo out of the high post to Lemon. Went to the offhand, not as strong a finish. It was out of bounds and will stay with the Pelicans. Got really good elevation as he got into the paint.
That was a nice after timeout play that they ran. Let's see what they do here. You know, you got to get the ball, you know, to the basket and try to get a foul, as Lemon just did, but he didn't get the foul, but he got the basket.
Blew it inbound to a cutting Lemon, and he makes it a one-possession game for the moment. They can play it out here defensively. Blew it, isolated against Walton defensively. 10 on the shot clock. Jones will try the three. Got it! Gerard Jones now with 31 points. With his fourth three-pointer of the afternoon. Randall back the other way with a quick answer.
Now on the backcourt.
We've said it all game long. There's been good offense from the tip here. Saw another great example of it as Jones' three is answered on the other end.
Yeah, and we see Jones step out to the three-point line, and this is where, you know, he's been making his money at the three-point line in this game, and Diallo's been making his inside.
Jones now 4 of 8 from three-point range. Nearly a turnover there. And a foul in the backcourt with 10 seconds to go. And it'll be Macon at the free throw line with a chance to make it a two-possession game.
Last 2 minutes. Pelicans are now in the bonus.
First free throw of the afternoon for Macon. And he hits the second one, so a two-possession game, and the Pelicans are running out of time. Green, Diallo, got that, 1.8 left. Macon is fouled by Green. But barring something miraculous by the Pelicans here, Miami Heat are going to advance.
Well, he's got to make both these free throws because we've seen the miraculous shot happen. And
miraculous is possible.
Yeah, if he missed, you know, 1.1 second for an NBA player, that's a long time for him to get off a three-point shot.
Three-point game.
You got to close out the game here. You got to make this free throw.
Makes the free throw, and it's academic. The Pelicans can collect a miss quickly. They can call timeout and would have plenty of time to set up. Plenty being a relative term in the NBA.
Yes.
But he got it. It's 110-106.
Macon has had a strong finish, man. Strong finish for the young man.
You're warming up to that number 54, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, when I said I didn't like the number on the guard, but he's making me like it a little bit more.
Miami's all but wrapped it up. A second to play with when we come back. The Heat about to wrap it up by 4 with a second to go. Pelicans are inbound here. 18 lead changes this afternoon. Gerard Jones hit a huge three a couple of possessions back. He's got 31, and the Heat have racked up an NBA Summer League record 29 assists, 11 of those off the fingertips of Derek Walton.
Yeah, and what Miami is doing is they're saying no chance of a 4-point play here. We're not going to even guard you. We're going to make everybody stand in the lane. So if you make a three, knock it down, you still win.
That'll do it. Miami gets the win, and they will advance into the winner's bracket. Onward and upward with a 110-106 victory. Gerard Jones with 31 for the Heat. And Miami will next face the winner of the Celtics-Knicks game happening right now on ESPN2. They'll get together on Saturday evening at ESPN2. The Celtics currently lead that game. Some good stuff from both sides. Duncan Robinson was good early, very quiet in the second half. And the big guys on both sides got it done. Sheikh Diallo had 26 and 13 and 31 points for Gerard Jones, who did it inside and outside.
And I thought Jones had a big game also, Matt. I thought he played extremely well for the Heat. He shot the ball particularly well from the three-point line, stretched the defense. He was able to get out also in transition. And whenever they needed a big basket, he was able to deliver for them down the stretch. I thought the three that he made down the stretch really opened things up and gave them a little comfort for the Heat.
They showed off a lot of offensive skill, not only knocking down the threes, but that little mid-range game, the turnaround shot he hit on the baseline, and he goes for 31 and 8. And Roz is standing by with Gerard Jones.
Gerard, great game. You know, you scored from three, you scored inside. How does your versatility help you today and against defenses and certainly against other bigs?
I mean, our coach just put me in good positions. I think being able to play the 4 position and the 5 position puts a lot of pressure on the defense because they kind of don't really know, certain plays. Coach wants me to roll to the rim. Certain plays I pop to the 3. So it kind of just keeps them guessing what we're going to do, and it gives us an advantage offensively.
And you know, many guys that come to this are teenagers or early 20s. You're 28 and with a lot of overseas experience as well. What are you trying to accomplish and show with this summer league?
I'm just trying to come and, show teams that, I could come as a player that has, experience. Like I said, I've been playing professionally 6 years overseas. I've seen a lot of different styles of play. And, I just, feel like I could come in and play a role at different positions and be that guy that can bring different type of experience to a roster.
I like that you said you've seen different styles of play. With your experience overseas, how does your game fit the Euro game, and how do you think your game fits the NBA game?
I think it fits the NBA game just, like you said before, being able to spread the floor. A lot of teams have big guys that can roll to the rim and, have guards who can get in there inside the paint. So, when they do that, and the defense collapse, a guy like me, I feel like I can spread the floor and knock down shots, but also can get in there, and rebound and play defense on different type of players, mismatches, and just really be effective. And a lot of that comes from the style of play that I played overseas.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time. Congratulations, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Guys?
Hi, Roz. Impressive afternoon for the 28-year-old, and who knows where he'll be playing this upcoming season. He's been all over the place, but he's got this on the resume now.
Matt, you shouldn't be penalized as a good basketball player because of your age, right? And
it's not like he's 40.
Yeah, right. and he can still play basketball. And when you're able to play, you should be able to get on a team and make a roster, and you shouldn't lose your spot to a guy who has projected potential.
Upside.
But you're a better player than.
Right,
so that guy who has potential, his upside is going to reach where I'm at right now as a basketball player. And that's the thing that I think gets really tricky for guys like Jones, who's 26, 28 years old. They're already developed, they're already there, and you're saying you're going to take a younger player who you hope develops into what I am right now as a player who can contribute.
And he wasn't the only Miami Heat big producing in this game. The SEC Player of the Year out of Georgia, Yante Maton, was impressive as well. He went 8 of 14, 19 points, had 7 boards.
Yeah, and again, as we talked about earlier, and as you accurately pointed out, sometimes the 4-year players or the older players, they have a better chance of making teams and looking better in this setting because they understand how to play, and they understand how to play in this setting.
They know who they are as players, unlike the 18 and 19-year-olds who are still trying to figure things out. Great offensive execution in this game. Was this a case of really good offense or defense that was lacking, or somewhere in the middle?
I think it was a case of good offense. I think both these teams really understand how to play within their system right now, as evident as it was a low turnover game. It wasn't a high turnover game. And then Miami set an assist record.
Right.
So you had two teams that really understood their system, have played together for a couple of weeks now, and they came out and they executed well, and I thought it was a very competitive game.
And 11 of those assists were from Derek Walton Jr., who also had 15 points along the way, but turned it over just 3 times to go with those 11 assists.
Yeah, but I thought the assist that he made and the big 3 that he made, at the end of the game, they were very timely. And it's one thing to make those plays, in the first quarter and the second quarter. But when you're making those plays consistently in the last 5 minutes of the game, that's big for a guy like Walton Jr. That's what the scouts and that's what you're being evaluated on.
Well, it's interesting. You just see the gap in experience pay off for so many of these guys. Walton's played a little bit in the NBA. Gerard Jones is 28. He's not going to be fazed by anything. He's played all around the world. Sheck Diallo played really well for New Orleans, entering his second year in the NBA as well. There's just no substitute for being around the game.
Yeah, and what we see is guys in the NBA, players are playing longer now. They're extending their careers. So when you're talking about young players developing and you're looking at a 28 or 29-year-old, it used to be that guy only had 2 more years left to play. Right? Now you can look at a 28-year-old and say, the way the game is played now with less physicality, you may be able to stretch another 5 to 6 years out of a 28-year-old right now.
Dirk Nowitzki's still playing. Manu Ginobili's still around.
Dirk
I worked with Vince Carter yesterday. He's waiting for the phone to ring.
I know, right?
Miami wins it 110-106. Up next, it's the Memphis Grizzlies and Oklahoma City Thunder.